Hello and welcome back to Stories with me, Jesse. Today's stories come once more from the adults who act like children over at Reddit/entitledparents. Let me know what you think of these stories in the comments, and feel free to provide your own suggestions for anything I should feature in a future video. There's a wild Karen on the loose, so you better hold on to your loved ones, because we're getting started now. Our first story is titled, Mom's new boyfriend starts acting as if he would be my dad, and at first made her back him through smart lies, till he overplayed his hand big time. Let me first give you some background so you get where people are coming from. My father has left a few years prior. Mom bought a small house from the money from the divorce, and a few months before has gotten herself a boyfriend. At first I was truly happy she had moved on, but soon I realized she had fallen for some real piece of shit. Now you need to understand, my father was an alcoholic and a narcissist, so my mom's normal meter was truly broken. Anybody treating her halfway decent must have appeared like Prince Charming to her. So please don't judge her too harshly for her choice. I don't. Now he was not only halfway decent, he treated her really well, though he was an a-hole to me. Brought her flowers, went out to eat regularly. But what I realized and she did not was that he was a parasite. He had maybe $100 to his name, and his only income as support from the state. A couple $100. Now I already hear you ask, how did he afford flowers and going out? By living rent-free and having all his costs paid till he gets back on his feet. One last thing, as the headline already told you, he soon started to show an immense entitlement towards me. Basically, he said this is his house, so now I have to follow his rules. Of course, I told him this is my mom's house, not his, and I do not have to do jack shit unless mom tells me so. He took that really badly, since he had an ego problem, as you probably already guessed. I tried to tell my mom, but she would not believe me since he always acted very nice to me when she was around, but as soon as she was not, the Cold War started. He pulled a lot of small shit, like demanding in a patronizing voice I bring him some beer while watching TV with me, while mom was on the loo. When she came back, he told her he had asked me nicely to bring him a beer when I stood up to get something, but I refused, insulted him, and sat back down. So of course she told me to apologize and get him beer. I tried to explain, but she would not let me. So he kept pulling petty bullshit to establish dominance. After this whole story, I asked my mom why she would always believe him and not let me explain. Apparently he had told her I was super jealous he was in the house and wanted to get rid of him by trying to make him look bad. So she backed him to show me he is not going anywhere. Time for the main act. I had gone out the night from Friday to Saturday and had come back at 3 a.m. My mom was gone over the weekend, and he f***ing exploded. How dare I disrespect him like that coming home this late? I told him calmly he does not get to declare a curfew for me, and my mom allows me to come home this late, which is true provided I stay at the house of 3 specific people I am friends with, and whose parents are my mom's friends. He flipped out even more and called me a dirty liar. He then gave me the classic, as long as you put my legs under his table, and me being a smartass of course answered, this is my mom's and my house. You are a guest here. He screamed at me he's gonna kick me out of the house and I will not be allowed back till my mom returns. I screamed back he cannot do that since this is not his house. I threatened to call my mom. He, emboldened by her backing him up all the time, told me to do just that. But I better not lie to her and tell her what is actually happening. I put her on speaker and told her, he is trying to kick me out of the house till you come back Monday. It was Saturday. She did not believe me and told me to put him on the line. He started by telling her I disrespected him as the man of the house by coming home so late, and the lying to him about this being okay when I stay at a friend's house, and that I need to learn to respect him. So it is up to him how he disciplines me since she is not there. Then he lied and said he told me to be home by 1 a.m. For the first time he let his mask slip, and she picked up on it right away.
So let me get this straight. I allow my son to be out until 3, but you think you get to overrule my decision on my son? And now you think you get to kick my son out of his house?
He realized he f***ed up. He tried to get her to take his side, but only dug his hole deeper. Well, he keeps not respecting me in my own house. If you let him win now, he will never respect me.
And you think the right punishment for disrespect is to kick him out for 2 days?
Yes, you finally get it. I knew you would come around.
Well, he did nothing wrong, since he was allowed to go out that long. You have no right just to overrule my decisions on my son.
But
I am not done! Apparently you think the right punishment for your disrespect is to kick you out until Monday.
But I only have $100. This is not fair. Where am I supposed to go?
I am sure my son had even less money, and you did not give a shit. You got 30 minutes to leave. I tell the neighbor to check. If you are still here in half an hour, he will call the police and have you trespassed. When I come home Monday, we will talk. I am such an idiot that I kept believing you over my son.
Once Mom came home, I told her how he kept pulling this bullshit on me, and she was so sorry she kept backing him up. I tried to tell her many times he treated me exactly like my father did when she was not around, one major reason for their divorce. But since he treated her so differently and acted so differently than my father, she believed him that I was jealous and tried to get rid of him. But when she heard him say these words, my father said so many times, "You owe me respect since you live in my house," she suddenly realized I was telling the truth all along while he was a liar. That is why she got so furious so fast. She never realized how badly he treated me and how entitled he acted since he had hidden it so well before. But when he started to talk about deserving respect in his own house, something my father kept saying, from me, a house he did not put a penny into but somehow was his. Even worse was thinking he could overrule her own son. My father kept overruling her decisions. So she finally saw through him and got all the evidence she needed. I was telling the truth all along. They broke up that Monday. He never even got back into the house. They met for a coffee and she demanded her keys back. Originally, she wanted to give him a month. But when she entered the bar they met at, he right away started to scream at her. How dare she kick him out of the house like this? And that now he would never get the respect from me he's entitled to. She told him she is only here to ask for her keys back and that they were through. Man, oh man, not a Karen, but a Carl. I know we're reading stories from entitled parents, but occasionally I still somehow manage to be taken by surprise. To be honest, my daughter isn't biologically mine, but I love her the same and treat her with respect, considering that her life began before I was in the picture. What a crock of shit that this scuzzball waltzes in like he owns the place. He got what he deserved in the end, and that's all I needed to know in order to have a warm, fuzzy feeling in my stomach. Moving on, our next story is titled, Your Little Brother Deserves Your Room, so you can move into the playroom. Oh, by the way, you don't get a door. This happened after I'd no longer been able to go to therapy. Right before the summer, and due to all this and more, I was going to end up having to repeat my junior year. It was 2 months before school would let out, and there was no way I could get my grades up to stay in the honor program I was in for high school. Because of this, my stepmother had decided to approach me about my room. You see, as a little backstory, my father and stepmother had trouble getting pregnant a few times. My brother was a miracle baby, and they'd wanted another after her. They tried hard, for years even, to conceive my little sister. Because they were trying, they moved from the small house they had for the 4 of us to a slightly bigger one. It was at this time that they started trying for my sister. Fast forward to me being 17, about to fail due to their abuse and other similar factors. In my state, siblings of the opposite gender can share a room up until a similar age. After that, it's considered illegal. My brother had reached that age and thus couldn't share a room with my sister any longer. This is where I come in. I had my own room. When we had first moved in, they took me shopping to IKEA and let me pick out my own room worth of furniture. Bed, dresser, side table, air cushion, even painted my room to suit my room theme. That being said, my stepmother decided that my brother needed my room. She told me that since I was failing my junior year and would be graduating a year late, that I could move into the playroom and get a job and start paying rent since I would be 18 when the next school year began. Normally this wouldn't be such a bad setup. The playroom is huge, it had lots of space. And to some, she had a point. I didn't answer her because I didn't know what to think. My stepmother calls my mother over one day to sit down with me to talk about me failing, how I was going to end up just like my mother by going from man to man and working a minimum wage job, and to pressure me into giving up my room. Eventually, I gave in. However, this was where the catch comes in. The playroom was still my brother and sister's playroom. Their toys would still be there. They could go in and out as they liked. This meant they constantly went through my stuff. It wasn't really my room. In addition, there was no door. And with the way the playroom was set up, as it was an addition to the house added on by the previous owners, there were large windows that had never been removed that look up into the playroom from the kitchen. I had no privacy. If I wanted privacy, I had to get a job to pay for my own curtains and my door if I wanted that. It was supposed to teach me responsibility of being an adult since I was failing a grade and therefore couldn't go to college like that. Their reasoning was that they were going to convert it into an area for me if I went to college, but since I failed a grade, they decided I could pay for it and be an adult. Later that summer, I was kicked out because my stepmother told me she resented me. Yikes! That sounds like an utterly terrible situation. The fact that a young adult was being forced to share a room with children without any kind of private space to collect their thoughts and recharge is totally unfair. And for your wicked stepmother to make comments about you being a failure like your mother, it's just plain hurtful and rude. I'm all for teaching the next generation some responsibility, but I am truly sorry about your predicament and hope that you get on your feet and onto bigger and better things soon. Our last story is called Entitled Mother Yells at Me for Drinking on My Own Porch. I get that quarantine has everyone on edge, but holy shit! This happened yesterday. It was really nice out, so I thought I'd take a break from writing all my papers to sit out on my porch with a nice glass of wine. Since I live on the first floor of the complex, I have a small green patch where I have a bird feeder set up and some flowers. Past that is the public sidewalk, and there are no fences, so it's all pretty open. I take a chair out the sliding glass door onto the patio/porch. I forget the difference. Leave the screen door closed so my cats can get a bit of the outdoor air, and plop down and pour myself a glass of Cabernet. At that point in the day, the sunlight was right on my porch, so my cats were laying in the sunbeam right behind me. As I'm just watching the day go by, seeing the occasional dog on a walk or people just taking a stroll, a little kid, about 5 or so, comes up into my view, trying to jump from sidewalk square to square. I hear the mom somewhere out of my line of sight say,
"Don't go too far ahead."
So he stops where he is and looks around. He sees me and my cat's in behind the screen.
"Look, Mom,"
he says.
"those kitties are the same color as S'more."
I guess his cat is also a calico. By this point, the mom catches up and glances in my direction to see what he's pointing at.
"Oh, yeah,"
she says. Then she looks over to me and her tone changes quickly.
"What the hell are you doing?"
Me? I said, a bit thrown back.
"Yes, you! What do you think you're doing? You can't drink here! These are student dorms!"
These are actually just apartments unaffiliated with the university, but since they're across from campus, pretty much only students live here, so many think it's another dorm. I'm over 21.
"No, you're not! These are student dorms!"
I guess she forgot that students can also be over 21? I'm pretty sure I'm over 21.
"Don't you talk back to me! Get rid of that drink right now, because you can't drink in public!"
I guess she decided to switch gears on how to get me to get rid of my drink. She starts walking towards me. Her kid comes too, I guess wanting a closer look at the cats. "Lady, I'm on my own porch. I can drink wine if I want." She clearly didn't like me talking back, so she got angry.
"I said get rid of that drink!"
She continues to approach, yelling at me like I'm her kid, and I won't put my toys away. By that point, the kid was on my porch looking at my cats through the porch screen. No. I take a sip.
"Get rid of it or I'm taking it!"
By this point, she's right in front of me, face red, hands on her hips, looming over me like that shit's gonna work on a 26-year-old. "No! Now get off my porch!" I said, standing up with my voice raised. By then the cats had run off and the boy was bummed. We continued to stare down each other. I'm on my own porch! I'm not hurting anyone, and I'm 26! I'll drink on my porch if I want! I take another swig in front of her. Entitled mother then smacks the wine out of my hand, and it nearly hits her kid as it shatters on the floor. "What the f***, lady?"
"I told you to get rid of that drink!"
She yells, not at all worried that her kid could have gotten hurt. "F*** you!" I shoved her and tried to pick up the big pieces so her kid didn't get cut. He was wearing sandals. Her kid runs off back to the sidewalk.
"How dare you push me!"
"How dare you destroy my property? Get the f*** off my porch!" Or I start waving around the broken glass pieces, and she took that as a threat.
"Are you threatening me?"
Actually, I wasn't. I just get expressive with my hands when I'm mad, and I happen to have the broken glass in them, but by this point, I'm fed up with this bitch. Yes! Now get the f*** off my property! By this point, we had attracted a couple of onlookers, which Entitled Mother finally noticed. She looked around and saw a couple on the sidewalk gawking at her, as well as my neighbor sitting on his porch nearby. She looks around. Her face, which was red with anger, was now red with embarrassment. She huffs and puffs and spins around grabbing her kid's hand and speed walks away from us as fast as she can. My neighbor asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, just annoyed. I swept up the broken glass, went back inside, poured another glass, and watched some JoJo to get my mind off things. Weird bitch. TLDR, an Entitled Mother didn't like that I was drinking on my own porch in what she thought were student dorms. She smacks it out of my hand, she realized how crazed she looks, and walks off in a huff. You guys know me. I always try and save the best for last. I mean, where did this lady get off trying to police someone, intruding on another's property when she's clearly not welcome? Good for you, miss. You sip that wine while your kittens enjoy bathing in the sunlight. Life is too stressful not to occasionally take in its simple pleasures. I want to take a quick moment to encourage my viewers to share my videos if you enjoy them. I was actually laid off from my full-time job, so any chance to get more views and subscribers would be a tremendous help. I appreciate each and every one of you who tune in and chat with me in the comments, and you being here sharing a couple of laughs with me is one of the things that's helping me cope with my unfortunate turn of events. You're all so kind and amazing, and I'm truly a lucky guy to be able to share these stories with you. Thank you so much for your support. Anyways, that's about all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for tuning in with me, Jesse. What did you think about these stories? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and check out what other stories I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you in the next one.